Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Laura, and today's topic of conversation is going to be product management. Product management is kind of a newer field for younger people to get into, and a lot of people are interested in product management at the new grad level. So I wanted to share my experience getting into product management and also some tips on how you can break into product management or know if you want to do product management versus software engineering. Let's dive right in. So obviously first what we have to talk about is what is product management. So product management is often abbreviated as PM, but the PM acronym is pretty overloaded. So PM can stand for product management, program manager, or something else. PM as an acronym can stand for product management, project management, or program management. So today I'll be focusing on product management, but program and project management can also deserve a little shout out here just to help distinguish them. All of these names are fairly indicative of the work that you will be doing, but it's also helpful to just break it down a little bit. So let's use a hypothetical example of you working at Facebook. If you're a product manager at Facebook, you're going to be managing a very specific product and the lifespan of that product. So a product manager at Facebook could be in charge of everything related to Facebook dating. So a program manager is going to be looking at the program overall, and an example of a program is going to be a diversity initiative. So that program manager at Facebook may be in charge of diversity initiatives to hire more diverse engineers. Finally, a project manager is fairly limited in scope. Project managers are specifically dealing with the minute details of a project. So they're setting up the agile/sprint timeline, they're in charge of handling scrums, etc. So let's zoom back out to talk about product management. Generally, product managers care about how they can create and build a new product for their team, sustain an ongoing product, and/or transition through their product's life cycle as appropriate and needed. With a product comes product market fit. Obviously, you want your product to fulfill the needs of a target audience, and you also want your product to fulfill that need better than any existing competitors. Otherwise, no one would ever want to use your product, and no one would even give your product a second thought. There's often a high level of customer interaction if you're going to be a product manager in order to actually understand how your product is being used and what your customers want next and what features they want fixed. 3 key skills that I think are really important in product management are communication, prioritization, and design-oriented thinking. As you know, I love to hammer you over the head about communication. However, as a product manager, you're communicating with tons of different parties, and all of these different parties are involved with some aspect of your product. Whether that be your engineering team in charge of actually implementing these features, or whether it be your customers who actually want to use your product, or your stakeholders who are actually investing money into your product, you need to communicate with everyone and make sure everyone is on the same page. So next, I mentioned prioritization skills. When working with customers, you're usually in charge of fielding their requests and concerns, but you're also the one that has to solicit input from other people and ultimately decide what kind of features you want to prioritize on your product. There's only so much time, and in that limited time, people are going to have an unlimited number of requests. You have to set up the timeline for when these features can be reasonably created, and generally just what makes sense for the product at that time. Lastly is design-oriented thinking. Sometimes you may have to think of a new product that really hits it out of the park. Other times you may have to just come up with a new aesthetic design or physical design of a product. You'll usually be working along UX teams for this, but having that creative and moonshot vision side of you can really propel you forward and stand out from other PMs. One important note though is that product management does not equate people management. Although you're working alongside different teams, customers, engineers, UX designers, etc., you're not actually managing the jobs of any of these people. You're simply working alongside them, providing them guidance, explaining what customers want, what features may be buggy, but you're never actually in charge of these people. You're in charge of features and products, which in turn marketing, sales, engineers, designers, legal, all coalesce on top of that product. If you're looking at a product management internship, you'll probably get bits and pieces of these different sides of product management. Some PM internships may ask you to do more prototyping and design-oriented work, and you'll spend your entire 12-week internship basically going over prototypes and soliciting customer feedback. Other PM internships may have you working more closely with the engineering team and feature prioritization, as well as fielding customer interviews. It really comes down to your team and what your team needs from you, so don't be disappointed if you don't get to work on all these aspects. Worst case scenario, you can simply ask your manager or your team if you can branch out into doing some of these other tasks if you're more interested in those. Now I want to talk about how I got into product management. I honestly knew nothing about product management until last summer, but in general, the field has really been blowing up, and there's high demand at the new grad student level and pretty low supply right now. Generally, as far as I know, product management has traditionally been a role that you graduate into after you've been a software engineer or working on an engineering team for a couple of years, just to get the experience of learning how to work alongside engineering and understanding what features are really necessary and how long they take to build. However, there definitely is a wave now of hiring more students into the new grad PM space, but many companies still don't actually offer a new grad opportunity for PMs. I entered last summer as a Microsoft Explorer intern, and there I got to do both engineering work and some product management work. I connected really well with my mentor, who was also a PM, and I chatted with other people in the PM space to learn more about their decisions and their roles and what the day-to-day life was like as a PM. However, last summer I was really divided. I totally went into that internship thinking that I was destined to be a software engineer and that I would really love coding, but the more that I learned about product management, the people side of things, and the general skills that are required for product management, the more that the PM role spoke to me. However, it also turns out that this is kind of a common dilemma among many people, so I was able to ask a lot of questions to people at Microsoft about PM versus software engineering and the general thoughts about students entering the PM space. In the next section, I'll talk a little bit more about why I decided to go PM instead of software engineering. But in summary, through my Explorer internship, I was able to re-interview for a full-time PM role at Microsoft, and I had a great time. Unlike prepping for programming interviews, I really enjoyed the preparation process for product management, and overall, the thinking/design process that goes into those kinds of questions were really interesting to me, and it all just clicked a lot better for me than trying to brute force my way through LeetCode solutions. As it turns out, I succeeded in my interview this previous fall, and this summer I'll be heading to Microsoft as a full-time PM. I do want to say though that I'm definitely a bit of a unique case. Most people go Explorer to PM internship to full-time PM, or at least work as a proper PM intern in some regard to get a feel for the situation. If you're unsure of the PM versus software engineering disciplines, then definitely try to get an internship in either software engineering or product management in between going full-time so you really know what to expect. That being said, the best way that I would recommend breaking into PM is going to be getting a PM internship. The new grad market for PMs is going to be really saturated just because of how few roles there are and how many students are really interested in product management now. And you skip having to fight thousands of other students for one new grad position. I know that getting a PM internship in and of itself can be pretty difficult, but I promise you that if you put your heart to it, that you can absolutely do it. So why did I choose to be a PM instead of a software engineer? To put it bluntly, I really just like product management more. I became a lot more extroverted after high school and doing speech and debate, and I wanted to leverage a role where I could use more of my communication skills. I've also always been a people person. I really enjoy interacting with customers, getting to know people, and generally learning about how something that I'm working on can directly benefit other people. For me as a software engineer, I think that I would be a little bit too excluded from the customer interaction sphere, and a product management role allows me to get closer to that ideal. I also got to experience direct customer interaction at my internship this previous summer, and that was really awesome. I enjoyed getting to talk to real people using real products and really understanding how the technological world that we live in can be eased through the products that we build. I would also say that I've always been more design oriented in terms of how I think. I really enjoy prototyping, spending time making things look pretty, and staying organized myself, as well as helping other people stay organized and unified on a goal. My end goal, or I guess maybe more of an intermediary goal, is to move into people management. So building up my people skills, delegation abilities through product management is a really natural path for me to go. I want to help other people achieve their goals, mentor them, and generally help them find success. Of course, product management is not a one-stop-fits-all for people management, and you can definitely still be a people manager even if you choose to be a software engineer. Lastly, I wanted to provide some tips on how to decide between PM and software engineering. PM and software engineering are fundamentally going to be pretty different. As a PM, you really won't be coding all that much. Even if you are a technical product manager, you may spend maybe a day or two coding or implementing. Most of that work is going to fall to your software engineers because literally that's their job. I personally didn't mind losing some of this coding aspect because, again, it's all a trade-off, but I've never considered programming to be the best skill that I have. But seriously, just leverage your natural talents. Figure out what you're good at, what you like, and how that aligns with a future career. I know that being a college student and trying to plan out your entire career can be terrifying, and trust me, it was for me as well. But nothing is ever a dead end. You can always switch careers if you don't like it, and I've heard of plenty of people switching between software engineering and product management, and vice versa. I will say that it is a little bit easier to switch from software engineering to product management just because years and years of software engineering experience is going to be really helpful if you're looking at more senior roles. and you do lose a lot of that technical programming ability if you haven't utilized it in a while. If you are truly stuck between product management and software engineering, just interview and talk to other people who may have been in similar positions, and you can also ask questions to people that will help your situation. So for me, when I was having one-on-ones with PMs and software engineers across Microsoft, one common question that I was asking was, what kinds of skills do you see in people that succeed at your role? That really helped me drill down into my own qualities and what I found in myself. So genuinely ask questions that will help you out, not just some random stock question that you found online of 20 questions to ask an interviewer or something like that. Product management can be really hard to break into if you don't have any relevant experience, but with enough practice, you can definitely get there. Most companies do prefer product managers to also have a technical background, but it isn't always a hard requirement. If you're coming from a non-computer science field and you want to break into the tech industry, then product management may actually be a good role for you to dip your feet into. In the end though, just really follow your heart and what feels right to you. I know that this is a bit of a shorter video given how much vagueness there is around product management, but if you have specific questions that you want me to answer, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'll also be doing more product management related content as I move forward into my role at Microsoft, so be on the lookout for that in a few months. Don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to this channel to help show support for the content I'm creating. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!